My first visit to Madeira was in 2007, and I was invited here by the gentleman we're getting ready to recognize, Mr. Stewart Campbell. The IGFA has been involved in big game fishing for almost 75 years. Big game fishing is a very difficult sport because there's not too many big game fish left in the oceans. Even many years ago there was not too many. It is also very rare to find places where there are consistently big game fish like the big marlin here. And it is even rarer to find good men and women who are the best at big game fishing. The people that come to mind when you think about that are Zane Grey, Alfred Glassell, Ernest Hemingway, who was vice president of IGFA up until his death, and then men like Stewart Campbell. And we owe a lot to Stewart Campbell for the many things that he did. I also owe a special thanks to Stewart Campbell because he was one of the men on the committee that hired me to become president of IGFA almost 10 years ago. Stewart Campbell was also the chairman of the IGFA Rules Committee. And for those of us that fish around the world, we know that rules are important. And without rules, you don't truly have a sport. Stewart taught me a lot about the rules of IGFA fishing, and he taught me a lot about protecting the rules of fishing. We're also very honored to be here for another reason, and that's the science. That's the IGFA Great Marlin Race that Eduardo mentioned. The big fish that we have here in Madeira are female fish, and it's very important that we find out where these fish go. And the technology that we have today with satellites allows us to put tags on these fish safely, and they swim away, and then we collect information on these fish, where they go, how deep they go, the water temperature that they're in, when the tag pops off. This idea of tagging marlin also was started by IGFA trustee Stewart Campbell. He worked with Barbara Block as a very famous scientist from Stanford University, who's our partner, as did Mr. Wayne Whippen, who is also a very famous fisherman around the world and a very good angler for big game fishing. Another part of our meeting here in Madeira was each year IGFA convenes its representatives from around Europe to talk about the important issues that are facing fishermen and the challenges that we face with reducing fish stocks. We have a number of IGFA representatives here with us tonight. IGFA has 305 representatives in 92 countries around the world, and each year we convene just the representatives in Europe to work on the issues in Europe. The only way that we can protect these big fish is by learning more, and we cannot be afraid of the information that we learn. So it takes a lot of courage to do what we're doing because some of the information may come back and tell us to change our habits as fishermen. But the men and women who fish here in Madeira are truly pioneers, like Stewart Campbell, like Ernest Hemingway, and like Zane Grey. I want to particularly thank three gentlemen here in the audience tonight. Mr. Wayne Whippen, Rocky Franisch, and Michel Merchandise from Belgium. Gentlemen, they helped us purchase some tags of these satellite tags. They're very expensive, but they're dedicated to science. I would also especially like to recognize Mr. Wayne Whippen for being our contact here in Madeira and helping us with our ongoing efforts. Stewart Campbell would appreciate that very much, Wayne, and I just want to say thank you for all your help.
Stewart sat on the board of directors at the Masters angling tournament with me for a number of years, and he was a dear friend, taught me a lot about fishing. Quick little story, when we first came here 5 years ago, I was a bait and switch angler, very similar to the way he was. We would only drag hookless teasers and only put a hook in the water once we raised the fish. I went through 30 fish the first year, pitching mackerel, pitching cavala to these big fish. I could never get one to eat the bait. I mean, they crashed it. They would never swallow it. I had a circle hook out in front of the bait. Stewart, I was telling the story to him finally after one day, and I told him, I said, Stewart, we've been through 30 fish, and we haven't hooked one of these things yet. And he said, you know, We had the same problem with circle hooks ourselves till we switched over to J hooks. I said, well, thanks for telling me now. I wish you'd told me about 30 fish ago. That would have been great. At any rate, he was a terrific man, and I'm extremely honored to be able to read to you a letter that Nikki and the crew has put together to give their appreciation for what we're trying to do today and honor a great man and a great angler. We talked to Nikki just 2 nights ago, and she certainly apologizes that she can't be here. Quite honestly, she just emotionally didn't feel she could come and spend the time with us and what we were talking about with Stewart and that sort of thing. So what she says is, she says, to all our friends in Madeira, we would like to take this opportunity to say thank you while so many of our friends are together at this tournament. After 20 years of blue marlin fishing around the world, we had the great good fortune to make it to Madeira. For the last decade and a half, Madeira had not only become the favorite place we had ever fished, but it also became a second home. The fishing was the best we had ever seen, but more importantly, we had made some of the best friends that we've ever had. Never had we fished in a place where the people went so far out of their way to help us with everything. This beautiful island and the wonderful people that call it home will always be in our hearts. Thank you all for everything, the Campbell family and the crew of the Chunda. Thank you very much.
Rob, can you tell me, do you think the direction of the tournaments now are drifting away from kill tournaments to catch and release?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the main reason is that the science is coming back and saying that there's fewer and fewer fish, and we as fishermen have to save every one we can. So a fish in the water is worth much more money than a fish on the dock.
Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Spirit can't work.